Tisha, have you ever noticed that sometimes when I hear a poem being read aloud, you understand it better? Mm. In fact, some poems are meant to be read aloud before they're fully understood. Now, an aspect of poetry that comes into play when this happens is called meter. Let me read something for you from the notes I have here, which are related to the book itself. A poem may have a basic pattern that the poet uses when crafting it. There is a reason for this. This rhythmic pattern is often different from the rhythms that you would have used in normal speech. The interplay between these two rhythm patterns help to give a poem its unique quality. So it means that when you hear a poem, the poem might have a rhythm, dong, da dong, da dong, or whatever, and normal speech patterns are different. And when you put those together, the poem gets, that's where the tension comes in, and the poem gets its unique quality. For example, if you wanted to write a poem about Chief Taki and his revolt, you could have said, Chief Taki decided that he would no longer continue living the life of a slave. But when Alma Norman decided to write a poem about it, here's what she said. She chose to write the poem using a brisk military meter because the revolt was a military one. Okay. And a military meter sounds like this. Okay, now, so you hear the military rhythm, all right? Takatang, 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 you know? Now, if you read the poem to that rhythm, here's what you're going to get. Taki the chieftain decided to fight. I finished with being a slave, yeah? Takati, takati, takata, tang, takata, takata, tang. So that gives you more of the feel of the poem. That's why Alma Norman used that to show the military thing. And it does some good things for the poem using that. And you notice the heavy drum rhythms on words like fight and slave and finish the thing. All of that helps to bring across the message of the poem. Now there's another poem. It's written by Charles Wolfe. It's called The Burial of Sir John Moore. And that poem uses the sort of military rhythm to great effect. It's a burial of a military leader, and it's captured like this, same rhythm. Takatang, 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 same rhythm that we heard a while ago. Now, hear how it goes. I'll read it. Not a drum was heard, nor a funeral note as its course to the rampart we hurried. Not a soldier discharged its farewell shot, or the grave where our hero we buried. You see it? That is a very military rhythm is used. Now, I will read it again. You read it with me this time. Come, try to read along and get that rhythm. Watch. Not a drum was heard, nor a funeral note as its course to the rampart we hurried. Not a soldier discharged his farewell shot, or the grave where our hero we buried. You understand?
Yes, and what does "oh" means?
It's really over the grave, but that's a contraction, a poetic contraction. Why? Because to keep the rhythm, if you had over, that is two syllables and it will throw out the rhythm. So he put out the V and they said or. So you get or the grave where our hero we buried. Okay? Let's read it again. You reading along. Not a drum was heard, nor a funeral note as its course to the rampart we hurried. Not a soldier discharged his farewell shot, or the grave where our hero we buried. Takatang, takatang, takatang. That's how it is done so effectively. Now, I want you to listen to a bit of another poem. This is how they brought the good news from Jen to Aix. Now, in this poem, the writer describes, as the book says, how three men were given an important military dispatch to deliver. They had to do so quickly. The poet captures the feel by using a metric pattern that captures horses galloping. Here's the rhythm. Yes, so here now, trying to capture that rhythm, it is, remember, it's horses there. Horses running.
Galloping.
Yes, galloping. The poem goes, I sprang to the stirrup and Joris and he. I galloped, the gallop, we galloped all three. Good speed, cried the watchers against both and drew. Speed echoed the walls I was galloping through. Behind shut the post on the lights and the rest. And into the midnight we galloped abreast. Not a word to each other, we kept the great pace. Neck by neck, stride by stride, never changing our place. I turned in my saddle and made it good tight. Then shortened his stirrup and set the peak right. We buckled the cheetah up, and so on it goes. You have the whole poem just going like that, right through, capturing the rhythm and the speed and the haste of the riders. If somebody reads it and reads it very fast, if you learn it and read it very fast, you really get the feeling of the horses galloping. It's very, very nice. On the other hand, in a poem like Sonnet Composed Upon Westminster Bridge, the writer uses a metric pattern that makes you read it more slowly, and this enhances the contemplative mood of the poem. For example, the pattern is ta 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 ta, and the strong stresses are made to fall on syllables with long vowels. Now, note how the poem sounds when it is read, stressing the basic pattern. The river glideth at his own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep. This is not how we speak. But when normal speech rhythms are used, the influence of the underlying metric pattern causes you to slow down, thereby capturing the calm solemnity that the poet wishes to convey. Listen to it. The river glideth at his own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep. Note too that in every line there are 5 heavy beats. This is one of the patterns most often used in poetry that employs underlying metric patterns. But remember, of course, that poems that are written in free verse do not employ any basic metric pattern. And sometimes a poet deliberately employs a metric pattern that seems, on the surface, inappropriate. This can have a powerful effect. Sometimes a poet deliberately uses a rhythm which seems, or metric pattern, which seems inappropriate for a poem. When they do that, there's a reason why. Dudley Randall, for example, in the poem Ballad of Birmingham, which is found in A World of Poetry for CXC, page 163, it uses a simple childish rhythm for a poem that describes a very, very horrific incident. Let me talk to you and refer to the notes on this. Here is a verse of this poem. She has combed and brushed her night dark hair and bathed rose petals sweet, and drawn white gloves on her small brown hands and white shoes on her feet. It's a kind of Jack and Jill rhythm, you know. Ta 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 ta, white shoes on her feet. She combed and brushed her white dark hair. You know, it picks up this Jack and Jill nursery rhyme rhythm. But when you look in the poem, the writer is recalling a most terrible incident in American history. It took place in the 1960s in the United States when white racists bombed a black church while Sunday school was in session. I quote from the page on the text. A mother had sent her child to Sunday school at that church, and the whole horrible scene is described in the same simple, childish rhythm that the mother would use when reciting for her child. Here's how it ends. She clawed through bits of glass and brick, then lifted out a shoe. Oh, here's the shoe my baby wore. But baby, where are you? And that underlying pattern, which would lead you to read it in a nursery rhyme sing-song, she clawed two bits of glass and then lifted out a shoe, serves to remind you that this is the type of rhyme the mother would have read for her child. And it helps to emphasize the horror of the incident which is being described. A mother searching for the mangled remains of her daughter who is a victim of a bomb attack, and she finds one of her shoes. One of the worst acts of terrorism ever in the history of mankind. Now, let us remember though, as the text says, getting the feel of the general rhythm of a poem is more important than deciphering the meter. Getting the feel is more important than deciphering the meter. The meter only helps you a bit. So this is because the meter is only a tool to achieve the rhythm. If the writer wants his poem to race along merrily, he will use a combination of meter, sentence structure, length of line, etc. to achieve this. Meter is one of the tools.